Welcome friends to another r/IDontWorkHereLady video. Today we've got some crazy stories about some crazy ladies who crazily think people work in a place they don't actually work. And we kick it off with a story from Android S-Lag. She doesn't work here. We went into the shop, rhymes with let's go, after I picked her up from a bad day at work. Some bloke tried to ask her where something was, but I cut him off and explained she doesn't work here, thinking it'll save him getting his head ripped off. I got barked at for the way I spoke to him instead. Then, without sensing her mood, he suggested she not dress like staff then. She wasn't. I didn't get to finish my thought of sod it, I tried to help you, before the look of arrogance blasted off his face by the shockwave as my girlfriend detonated into a small mushroom cloud, yelling about logos on shirts, ID cards, and company lanyards, etc. He made off like a fart in a gale, but I bet he's going to double check the uniform before asking again. To be honest, for the oblivious people out here, would you agree that this kind of, I guess you would say, small mushroom cloud treatment is what people like this who don't do their due diligence looking for uniforms deserve? Or do you think you should still try to keep it civil? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Our next story is from Damien St. James. Wholesome, another vest side story. If you haven't read my posts on IDontWorkHereLady, know that I alternate between using my manual wheelchair and the mobility aids provided by stores. I wear safety vests of different designs at the suggestion of people here to avoid being mistaken for an employee. It's not effective. This is what gets me in so many IDontWorkHereLady stories. 117th Fred Meyer, Vancouver, Washington. Husband had just got paid earlier today, so I was excited to be able to get some stuff we honestly needed. It wasn't much, so I planned to be in and out rather fast. I had plans for today to get some gaming done with my online friends. Though as recognizable a person as I am, and how friendly I am with the staff here, this tends to add 10 to 15 minutes onto my trip, since I gotta say hello to my friends there. This is how I encountered today's special character. I was somewhere in the middle of the checkout lanes, chatting it up with one of the bag attendants that I recently befriended. She was talking about her upcoming prom, and I was doing my best to assure her that not only would she look freaking amazing, if she needed someone to act as an emergency life flight, if the night goes it's up, then she could call me. My eyes are drawn to my right, and I spot the most beautiful German/American shepherd dog I'd seen in years, leading a quite visibly impaired elderly man towards me. In a very soft but concise voice, he asked, "Excuse me, is this the deli?" Now, I don't work there, so I let the bag attendant speak first. She admittedly, without thinking, said, "Oh yeah, it's over and had started to point when she realized what she had done. Her face went from, "Oh, I'm super happy to help," to "somebody shoot me" levels of embarrassment. So I elected to jump in to save my friend embarrassment and just be who I am. "Oh, I can take you there if you like. Can you see my vests?" I asked. They say, "Oh yes, that's what led me to you, but I can't really see anything else." I say, "Okay, if you like, you can put your hand on my shoulder and I'll drive you over there. Would that work for you?" The kind gent laughed and said that wouldn't be necessary and indicated his seeing eye dog was trained to follow. He issued the dog his commands and the dog went right to work identifying that I was who to follow. Still, I rolled the in-store aid. I remember to indicate which aid I was in at this time, at like 50% speed at best. They're already barely half the speed of smell as it is, but I wanted to make sure if I had to stop suddenly, neither he or his pooch would run into anything. The man chatted me up the entire time, and he was so grateful to have the help. I thanked him and assured him it was my privilege and honor to do what isn't just right, but is basic decency. He laughed sagely and said, "If only more were like you. These days, people are just too bothered to help out someone disabled or blind, and I'm both. So, in a way, it can be doubly insulting." I say true. I'd say it's a Greek tragedy, though I think Greece might sue for gimmick infringement. Oh, he laughed. So I got him to the deli and he made his purchase. I asked if he had any other shopping to do, and he said he did, but if I had other duties to perform, I could go, and he could get somebody else to do it. I literally didn't think, I just responded, "Sir, you are my duty." I'm not great at reading social or emotional cues, but I did think he actually restrained a tear. He patted me on the shoulder and left his hand there to steady himself. "Well then, to the front line, soldier," he instructed. I did what I've often done in this situation. I drive all around the store and guide them to whatever they needed. Fortune smiled on us both that I had like 3 things in the basket of the cart, so we could use the aid to carry his purchases. He told me a little bit about himself, but he was more curious about my story. I just stuck to the simple things that I was a writer, a former pro wrestler, and currently a gamer. He asked about my issues walking. I told him that it was a combination of old injuries and degenerative conditions. He said he knew all about those. In the end, I escorted him to his car, helped him load up his groceries, and his wife, who'd been waiting in the car, thanked me. Neither knew I didn't work there, but I saw no reason to spoil that illusion. If people see me doing what I do and think it's actual employees doing it, then hot darn, that's good for the store. Oh, and as a little reward, the man offered to let me pet a shepherd after I'd mentioned I loved dogs. I think everybody was happy today. Honestly, from OP's perspective, I get it. I love dogs too. Not only does it honestly feel good helping the guy out like this, I actually could not imagine any better feeling than just knowing that you helped out here, but also you get to say hi to the dog and actually pet the dog in the end. And that's just kind of adorable. Our next story is from Sunny Day 94. Yeah, I know where it is. I don't know if I have an approachable demeanor or just look knowledgeable or what, but 9 times out of 10, I'll be the one confused or lost strangers come up to and ask for assistance. Anyway, I was at the supermarket store with my mom, and this older man asked me where the greeting cards are, so since it was right there, I took him to the section. He then asks me what section the birthday cards for daughters are. Okay, I show him. Then he asks me for one for his adult daughter that's not too mushy but sweet. So we read a few, and I pick one out, and he thanks me. It gets funny when an older woman, who I'm assuming is his wife, comes over, and they pretty much start demanding that I show them where about 6 more items are. I think it's kind of amusing, so I'm doing it. When my mother pulls up the cart and says, "Where have you been?" I say, "Helping them shop." They look at me and I say, "I don't work here. The people in blue smocks do." I pointed out a young man stocking shelves and said, "Ask him." I just walked away, not sure what they thought. Honestly, I can only imagine their confusion. They started getting on a roll, they had somebody that was pointing out everything to them, and then at some point, some lady with a card rolls up and says, "Where have you been?" And they just kind of walk off, just leave you there like, oh, okay. By the way, if you're enjoying these stories, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below so that you never miss any of my daily videos. This next story is from Audio Dude 9. He doesn't work here, but I do. I work for a musical instrument retailer, wearing a black polo shirt with the store name on the left breast, and a lanyard containing the store name and my name as a uniform. One evening, I was ringing up a guitar purchase for a guy. As we were wrapping up and talking guitar BS, another guy comes from the drums behind the first guy, so able to look right at me as he approached. He taps him on the shoulder and asks, "Can I get some help in drums?" The first guy simply says, "I don't work here." At which point I put on my biggest, cheesiest grin and wave. "I'll be with you in a moment." Not an exciting story, but I did think of you guys when it happened. All I know is that I can imagine myself being in that customer's shoes because somehow, some way, I would be the one to make that kind of foolish mistake. I'd ask for help, the guy would say, "I don't work here." The other one would say, "I'll be with you in a moment." And I'd probably turn right around, walk out that store, walk right past my car in the parking lot, and just keep on walking till I reach home by foot, walk right up to my bed, tuck myself in bed, and stare at the ceiling and think about what I just did. Our next story is from Kong King Rad. I do work here. So some background. In 2020, I broke my neck. I was about a year in hospital, long time in a coma, and got reanimated and ventilated for a long time. This accident left me paralyzed from my chest down, and like a miracle, I have full arm and hand function. So I'm fully independent, but in a wheelchair. I managed to graduate law school, and now I'm a lawyer. This happened like a month ago. I was hired by an insurance company for a case where a disabled person committed fraud regarding medical equipment. Where I live, the defendant is on the left, and the claimant is on the right. So I went in the courtroom and was rolling onto my place on the right. The judge was already there, and the conversation went like this. The judge says, "Good morning, you have to sit over there." I say, I don't think so," not getting the situation. The judge says, "Believe me, I've been doing this job a while now, and I know where everyone sits." I'm just baffled and just looking stupid. They say, "Can you please move now? The claimant sits there." I start smiling. I get my robe out and put it on while smiling. The judge was extremely apologetic and got a bit red. We laughed it off and actually ate together afterwards in the cafeteria. Now, I'm not sure if she just wanted to be extremely polite or hit on me. Thing is, I'm 25 and she's more like 35, but she gave me her number. Well, shoot, that was a quick turnaround from "please sit over at the other desk" to "hey, it was nice having lunch with you, here's my number." Could do a lot worse than a judge, I'll tell you that. Our next story is from the Strike Man 1. Lady thought I was a volunteer for a special needs baseball team. To start off, I actually have a disability. I'm a 17-year-old male with cerebral palsy that affects my legs. In short, my life is usually spent in a wheelchair, and unfortunately I don't walk. Anyways, I don't know if this story belongs in the subreddit, but I thought it was funny and wanted to share it. This story started because my dad forced me and my siblings to go to a musical with my grandma at my cousin's school. The play was nice, but the event of this post happened before the play while we were waiting for it to start. While we were waiting, this nice woman walks over to where I'm sitting with my grandma and says, "You look familiar." And then she asked me, "Do you volunteer for our special needs baseball team?" I responded by saying, "No, this is my first time here." She questions, "Are you sure?" I'm about to reassure her that this is my first time here when my grandma said something she told me earlier. Earlier that day, while we were on the way there in my grandpa's truck, my grandma told me and my brother to not try and get any girls' numbers. I found this funny because I don't have a phone and my dad doesn't think I can pick up girls in the first place. Anyways, my grandma told the woman that she couldn't have my number. I assumed that the woman was twice my age. Of course, my family and the lady started laughing. After that, she said bye, and we enjoyed the rest of our day. Overall, I'm just pretty glad this was a pretty wholesome story and something that everybody could just kind of laugh and have a giggle about. Considering the subject at hand, if you had a Karen, it could have been a lot worse. And our final story of the day is by OK Outlandishness 1363, another 30-minute trip to the store. Hello all. For some background, I, 32-year-old female, recently shared a story about my experience at Sam's Club with an extreme Karen who thought I worked there about a few weeks ago, and here I am with another debacle. For context, I'm 5 foot and a quarter inch and weigh 110 pounds soaking wet with all my clothes on. Karen was by far more capable of loading her own groceries. So I made my trip to get more dog food and some other grocery stuff from Sam's Club today, and the dog food was on sale, so I got like 4 bags of it and a few cases of water on a flatbed with some other assorted stuff, chips, etc, etc. I was in and out as I did the scan and go. Bless you, kind soul who told me about that on the comments of my last post, and left my cart by the unloading zone while I pulled my car up. I'm loading up my stuff, and this lady shows up and is hovering behind me. So I ignore her, and then she did the dreaded Karen throat clear. I have no idea why she's doing any of this, so I assumed she was waiting for someone. I finished loading my stuff and locked my car and take the flatbed inside and come back and go get in my car. And this is the conversation that followed. The crazy Karen said, hello, I've been waiting for you to load my groceries while you lollygagged around. I say, ma'am, I don't work here, so I won't load your 2 carts full of groceries into your car. Crazy Karen spluttering said, so I don't see why you can't just do it for me. I say, because I don't work here. She says, wow, you really have the audacity to say that to me? I say, yes, because I don't work here. At that point, it was like being in a hamster wheel trying to follow her logic as to why she would think a random person would help her load groceries. So I just got in my car and shut the door as she was still ranting about the whole thing and drove away. Currently, I'm picturing a visual of this Karen just loudly ranting and raving. Oh, why can't you help me? It's not that hard. You can just load the groceries up. You just loaded that one up. Opie gets in their car, shuts the door, starts driving off, and it slowly gets muffled into the distance until you just can't hear it anymore. Oh, come on, it's not that hard. You can just get out here and help me. The sweet, sweet sound of silence. But with that being said, that's all the time that we have for today. So of all these stories I've read for you today, which one was your personal favorite and why? Let me know down in the comments below. If you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.